Okay. So that fall is the order. It is this on? Oh. Wednesday, August the 14th, 2024, and this is the meeting of the Carbondale, Colorado Parks and Recreation Commission. We're an advisory commission made up of volunteers to assist and consult with town staff and make recommendations to our elected town officials. My name is Hollis Sutherland, and I'm honored to be the chair of this commission for this year, and I'm joined by my fellow volunteers, Vice Chair Rose Rosello, Rachel Bachman Perkins, Ashley Haight-Manick, Leslie Keary, Eric Lamb, and Susan Ray. Sorry. It's like I was trying to abbreviate, apparently. Drew Sorensen, and our youth commissioner, Liza Logan. We are joined by our fabulous staff, Eric Brenlinger, Parks and Recreation Director, Margaret Donnelly, Community Center and Recreation Programs Manager, and Kay McDonald, woman of all hats and serving as clerk tonight to graciously take our minutes. Eric Sparhawk is our Board of Trustee liaison, and I welcome anyone who may be watching live or via recording. Thank you for participating in your local government. As a commission, we strive to serve the town of Carbondale by setting aside personal biases and looking at what's best for our community. We honor diverse opinions, promote inclusivity, and endeavor to keep our discourse civil and respectful. So we will get started by approving the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes? Are there any corrections, edits, changes? Okay, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Barely.
I move to accept the minutes.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Before we hop right into the agenda, I did want to let everybody know a little Robert's Rules of Order thing, because last month when we were talking with the pickleball and John was here and spoke and things like that, I made a mistake because that would have been public comment. And so if you guys see, and Drew pointed that out to me after the meeting, which I really, really appreciate. So if you see some sort of procedural thing that's not being followed correctly, the Roberts Rule thing is a point of order. That's the terminology, is point of order. And so you can call a point of order, and at that point, the chair or whoever will recognize you, and then you can explain where you think we're off track. So anyway, I just wanted to get started with that and really appreciate it, because I'm not always at the top of my game or keeping all the balls or plates in the air. So I appreciate that. I think everybody who's here is on the agenda. Is that correct? Okay. Then Trevor, you want to bring your team up and introduce Lorraine and Jeff?
Oh, sure.
Ooh, colored handout? Extra points. Yeah. Make it to the obstacle course.
That's okay, we can share.
I only have two possibilities.
Do they go together?
Are they the same or do they go? They're different.
There's two different copies, or there's two different possible paint scheme,
Okay.
color schemes. Yep. So,
I was gonna say, take a look and then pass it.
yeah.
Yes, yes.
So,
Picture of it and I'll get it on my
So Lorraine and Jeff, do you guys want to introduce yourselves so Kay can get those in the minutes?
Yes, so I'm Lorraine Elo, and no official capacity in the pickleball club, but Trevor's significant other, so
First lady of
Yeah,
pickleball.
First lady of pickleball.
So I didn't volunteer, but I've got a lot of responsibility. Yeah.
And about every other email you see is actually from her.
Yeah.
Jeff Dickinson, 82 Went. I'm the former first lady of pickleball. I'm now the official architect of pickleball courts across the country. somehow,
Right.
As on a volunteer basis.
Good job.
Great.
So we are coming to you guys tonight to get approval that we can take to our board and to our members for refinishing the Darien/North Face courts in the same manner essentially as they are now. What I've passed out is the possible color schemes, and they haven't been redone since they were done initially, with the exception of, I think, in 2018 or 19, we added pickleball lines with the approval of the town. So I'd say so we've given you a couple possibilities. We've gotten approval in a letter that's included in your packet from the Roaring Fork High School from Krista Barlow. And I think that we have avoided any conflict with GOCO as far as their money is concerned, in the fact that we're not changing the use in any way of the courts. There'll still be 3 tennis courts. There'll still be 6 pickleball courts. And I guess what we're just asking from you guys is approval to proceed, and giving you a couple options on the way they're painted or finished. There's going to be a lot of work that happens before the actual painting of the courts. There's going to be certainly an attempt to fill the cracks or minimize the cracks in the court. As I think we discussed extensively last time, there's these 2 significant horizontal lines where the concrete was added to make them the size of tennis courts. So the guy who built the 6 pickleball courts is going to be, we have a bid from him to do the work. We didn't feel, I think we discussed this, that it didn't necessarily need to go through the RFP process for that. And he feels like he can certainly minimize it, but not make them go away permanently. So they will still be there, but hopefully minimized to the extent possible. Filled with a sealant, certainly a maintenance thing down the road. But I think they've only been filled one time, the first time. So we're hoping to open that with a little grinding and a little bit of caulk work. We'll be able to, I know, we'll be able to make it a little bit nicer, not affecting play as much. So
Yeah, I mean, as you all know, we raised money and the budget got a little bigger than we thought it would be, especially with the water line and that kind of thing. And we understand how the town is constrained as far as being able to help put any funds toward it at this point. So there's sort of a general consensus from some of the members that, hey, let's take the money we have raised and put it toward this, and we'll get better tennis courts and better pickleball courts. And they want to make sure that, it's still a pickleball thing, since all the money's coming from the pickleball group, and the donors and that sort of thing. So that's kind of where we are with that. And, we're seeing these designs between the 3 of us, we've been to hundreds of pickleball courts around the country and seeing this kind of pickleball forward thing where, hey, there's a lot of pickleball players out there. How can we enhance it and make the court usable both for pickleball and tennis? And that's basically what we're thinking. And the members have donated, so they want to make sure they're getting something for their money, that sort of thing. And, I think you guys talked a little bit about making sure we can still have time on the courts. We have the MOU, but it's just for the 6 courts, the new ones, but the other ones. So we will need to kind of talk about that as far as the rules go. But
Right.
first step is to take this money, get the courts refinished and painted. So
Right.
that's where we are now.
Yeah, I mean, the three of us, along with about 50 to 60 other people were out there on Monday night with 10 courts being used only for pickleball. Actually, there was, when we first got there, there were 2 people playing tennis on the far court. So it's not like it's going away, but we're looking for approval for the refinishing only right now. We'll be coming back to you with some ideas for adding more shade. This is sort of like here, the $400,000, $375,000 to $400,000 option of building the 3 courts. It just seemed like a bridge too far right now. But, if we can do something for some other budget number, another, 100 to 150,000, can we, create some shade structures, add some, sitting areas, without encroaching into the field to the south, which, Eric and I spent some time out there walking around, and I tend to agree. Let's leave that as open space for now. But that would be a completely separate discussion from just this, trying to get you guys to say, we're okay with you proceeding with refinishing the courts in a similar manner to as they are now.
Ashley?
Yeah, I have comments and questions. Thank you so much for coming back and for everyone who's put the time in over the last month to do the research and answer the questions we had last month. The one question I still have is there was a little discussion last month about what you all would ask from the town in return as far as playtime and how that relationship works with them being tennis courts or.
Well, as it reads right now, tennis still takes priority. If a couple tennis players show up and it's entirely filled with pickleball players, then the pickleball players finish their games, and unless it's reserved, of course. But on any given day, then we cede the court for an hour to the tennis players, and then we ask that they start at the far east court, closest to the hill, and then if more show up, then they come towards us and they have it for an hour, then they give it back to the pickleball players for, if the demand is still there. I think in this process, I think there might be some room for, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, it's this, and on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday, or whatever, something like that, it's one has the priority over the other. But we're still a multi-use place, so I think but we're not asking for that tonight. It still is. Of course, when we talk loosely with the members about this, there's concern that, oh my God, we're going to make the courts nicer, and then we're going to have tennis players wanting to play there all the time. I'm not sure that that's true, but it's possible, and I think if that becomes the case, then we can have another discussion about that. I think a reasonable discussion. I mean, it doesn't seem fair that tennis players would have priority over it if all the time, right? So, in other places in the country, I mean, there's very defined from 10 to 12, it's this, from 12 to 2, it's this, from 2 to 4, it's this. And we've gotten quite used to being able to do whatever we want out there. And I think, just some more guidelines down the road, but I don't think we need to have that figured out tonight before we proceed. I'm okay with I certainly am okay with the way it reads right now. And once assuming we can refinish the courts, then we see what happens and then have a discussion. So.
Margaret, do you want to talk at all about the conversation you had with the tennis people? And, because you kind of left it a little bit open that the use of the tennis courts is really something that seems like we've created. At least that was your last line on that,
On the email, yep.
Yeah,
I got that.
in a
Yep.
way, it was all based on pricing.
So there were two main factors the main factor for them stopping playing league was the to be specific, that it's because it's for the league play. It's not just for open play, it's just league play itself. That they had to stop playing when we painted the courts. We were not considered a grandfather court. The Colorado USTA did not believe in any of them are grandfathered in. And then she mentioned just that some of the team captains do not like to play on our court because of the cracks on each side. And then they also, they could reserve them because team captains have been coming and can reserve some of the courts. It doesn't matter for them because it's not technically league play. So if they need a place to practice, they can reserve the courts. They do not reserve our courts because our prices are almost twice of what all of the other communities are. So those were kind of the open-ended of how we kind of created our own situation for tennis not coming to play here, at least league tennis. And so those were the main reasons listed.
But they can do league play over at those 3 courts at RVR.
Two.
Two courts
courts.
in RVR.
Yes, they could.
And Margaret, in your experience, and is it usually afternoon, evening?
She gave
For
us,
the-
She
I
gave us
thought
times.
it was very specific when the league play is.
I can answer that because
Yeah.
I'm on a tennis league. So yes, it's usually Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday evenings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some Saturdays and some
5 to 8:30,
Sundays.
But we had it down, yeah.
So to me, that seems less conflicting because of the demand is so high in the mornings on the pickleball. And it's still, like I said, there were 10 courts being used on Monday night when we were out there, 10 for pickleball.
Yeah.
But, we can figure it out, I think.
Lev, do you have any opinions on this, being a tenniser?
Well, I play both. So I'm trying to not be biased because I do play more tennis. But the only thing is the colors for me personally, I would have a hard time playing tennis on those courts with the color schemes that you have.
Currently, or?
That's what I wondered
or
about.
proposed?
Well, did you change the orientation of the courts?
No, there's no change in the orientation.
The drawing, I did move it on the page, but in reality, the courts are where they are.
Where they are.
Yeah.
It's so that it just would be hard to see the service line on the tennis courts.
So look at the one on the left.
The one on the
That's-
left is better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be bolder. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a computer generated.
Okay.
Colors,
It would be a bold white
The blue
line.
one.
which would be
Yeah.
USDA standard.
Well, they're not going to let us play there, but
Right, but I-
Well, you-
that's okay.
But would they let
But
you
you
play there
could
now?
practice there, right?
They can practice there and
Yeah.
I think with USTA, they only have 4 courts up at Crown Mountain 2, but a lot of teams play out of there. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a slight departure from what it is right now, making it a little bit more pickleball forward. But this is pretty common around the country to see this kind of arrangement. The 4th color on the other drawing, not that one, is tougher.
Yeah.
I get that from a tennis player's perspective, for sure. But I didn't feel like the one on the left was, if you play for any amount of time, you just know where the lines are. We all play, I used to play basketball all the time and there's lines all over the place. There's volleyball lines, and you just know where you are mostly. But I get it. It's in the same manner, but with a little bit more pickleball forward, for sure.
Get it.
I'm a little bit confused and don't know all the details. So the current cracks that are really bad, I think I read in here, are at the tennis serve line for the most part.
Pretty
Right.
close, yeah.
So you're on all 3 courts or
It goes all the way.
it goes all the way
It
across?
goes the entire, yeah, if I could draw a line for
So
you.
you're kind of
about where they
setting
are.
this up that your wasn't it called your no man zone in there? What's the green part of this one?
Non-volley zone.
The
Yeah,
non-volley zone.
nothing's changing.
That's
The-
kind of right at the serve line, so that kind of works for you
We
if that's
can't,
gonna
we
be
can't,
the.
we're not moving, the pickleball courts and the tennis courts are in the exact same location as they are
And
now.
that was a question I had. So right now you have temporary temporary pickleball courts on these, or temporary nets that you put out.
We have, well, we have very nice temporary nets, yeah.
Okay,
The-
we have nets out there, but you already have these lines are drawn on the
Uh-huh.
courts? And so now in the resurfacing, you want to enhance the pickleball courts with this contrast color?
Just one, yeah, one more section, or, well,
Yeah,
I guess two more sections per
And the
court.
proposal too is to have permanent tennis nets that are right in the center where they are now. So the tennis nets would stay permanent. They would serve as a backstop for the pickleball courts. And the pickleball nets would get rolled out like they are now. We have 4 really nice ones that we roll out, so.
so you're, so the current condition is on the 3 courts, you have 4 pickleball courts. You're,
Six.
you have 6 on there now.
There's-
Okay, you
there's
still
one,
have
yeah.
6 on there. Okay. So it's no new courts, it's
There's
just
not, yeah, we're not
resurfacing.
adding or taking away anything. And it's
It's
just,
just adding these bright colors. I mean, I
Patch in the crack.
haven't played pickleball, but back when I played tennis, that would be really distracting. I don't know that I don't know why it's not just lines instead of colors.
What the colors
there's multiple colors out there now.
is they help identify the different areas. So if you're like, tennis is the main outside boundary.
Yeah.
And then the pickleball is like that area, it's highlighted. So one or the other is gonna be highlighted. It's gonna be distracting for somebody.
Mhm. Well, other than right now, you just have lines. You don't have the color changes.
Well, now there's a color change. The tennis court itself is one color and everything outside it is another color.
Right, yeah, but like you were talking, playing in a gym, basketball, volleyball, whatever, you've got different colors of lines, but you didn't change the floor color, right, in the gymnasium. You've got lines for whether you're doing basketball this way or crossways, and if you're gonna set up for volleyball courts, you just see all the tapes on the ground. That's
Right.
real different than
Well, right,
if
so,
all of a sudden we had, blue flooring on in the gymnasium
right.
in some
So,
parts.
so now, right now, the color changes at the tennis line to pickleball line. This would be sort of, and it's only, literally, it's only on, it's only on the very ends. If you, the truthfully on that, it's, if I could,
Yeah, that's what's there. If you,
Here's
I can
what-
send this out to everybody, or we can
Yeah.
pass this around. This is what they look like currently.
Just lost
it's
it.
literally
Hit
that
something.
sliver right there.
Here,
What's
this
changed.
is,
There, that sliver of line right there.
That's what they look like
But
currently.
then what she's saying is this blue section in the middle of the. court
Right, but over
also
here, we don't
lines.
see any of these lines, right? These are the pickleball courts. These are the tennis courts. And on the tennis courts, you don't see the pickleball lines at all in this. The satellite
It's a
image.
really old picture.
That's the old satellite.
But there
image,
is-
yeah.
Oh, it doesn't look like this at all right now.
No, it does look
no.
like this, but there are pickleball lines here.
So instead of, so the different, what you're asking for is are these blue,
The blue sections.
the blue
That's what we're
sections?
asking. Yep.
So there'd be, so,
Yeah, that's it.
because right now you don't have a blue patch out behind the service, behind the back line of the tennis court.
Right, in the cracks or something like.
Oh, they're not in the court.
It's like where you're standing as you. serve.
Oh, I thought they were up here at the service
Well,
line.
actually, on one side, it's right here.
Oh, yeah, that's why it's
And
not
then,
good to play on.
no,
That
and I
show
think
the
on one side,
pickleball
on one
on?
side, it's right there.
But it doesn't show the pickleball lines
It's right
on
there,
the.
yeah. So it's in the tennis court and the,
Yeah,
That's an
those-
old-
so
those
it's
are-
just further up on this side.
Well, no, then, no, it should be.
okay, we have a full agenda tonight.
Yes,
so
I know,
We have
and
to
So,
move along a little bit, but this is important. so, Yeah. Ashley.
Another question is, I'm unclear about the league play. Would there be displacement or is it currently not being used for league play?
It's not being used. The league plays out of RVR. But you have to be
Okay.
an RVR member to play there.
Okay,
So it's hard to,
Is there any league play on those 2 courts on the outside, right on the edge RVR?
mhm,
The triangle,
mhm.
those aren't restricted to RVR.
No, but there's.
Sorry, no, but if we don't have enough courts, then we use those courts for league play.
Mhm.
So has there been league play in the last 5 years at RVR and Triangle Park?
On those courts?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this would not displace those, that could
No.
continue.
I mean, the main thing we're wanting to do is refinish them, and that'll be better for everybody.
Yeah.
So we're just proposing this color scheme.
Yeah.
Is there a rear, like, I know that tennis, it's really important to have that rear line, like that back line, so I don't have the lingo, but is that, to me, it looks like it's fallen back from where it would have been. So is there a
Same spot.
second line? Well, it's
It would,
like
again,
right here,
apologize
like,
for the,
does this line actually line up, or there is a second line? It's just, okay, I guess you can.
there's a line, the
Okay.
baseline is still there, and it would be very.
Jeff, I mean, I know these are renditions of stuff, so when it's actually painted, will those lines be big and bold and
Yes.
visible
Yeah.
for tennis
Everything's
people?
gonna be
and-
bright white lines.
Oh, that's.
That's when I refer to the
We're not changing
USTA.
it.
It's the USTA 2-inch white tennis line. It's what the baseline will be.
Okay, all right.
And Leslie, what you're saying is either way, you can't play on this court with these extra lines as a league.
And they haven't been able to.
You ha-
Ever
and
since
so
we
even
striped
with
it.
extra colors, no extra colors, just if there's the extra lines, then it's out.
USDA nationally is okay with this. It's just Colorado
Just
or
Colorado.
the Southwestern.
And honestly, Rose, I think that tennis is going to have to adapt and learn to share as well. So
Mhm.
it was like skiers and snowboarding, don't let them on our hill and
Ajax for life. I'm just kidding.
I
It's a
know.
joke. It's a joke.
so. So,
Well,
Oh,
we've
they
used
had-
that example
They had
quite a
some of
bit.
that stuff in the golf community too, like. you can't do
So
this.
I always kind of err in the side of numbers. That's
Mhm.
just my personal opinion, and it feels like pickle is out there a lot of mornings. And if it gets to be a problem where there's a conflict of interest, then Trevor says he'll come back, and we may have to work out a schedule. So that's just my thoughts.
Okay, Drew?
I was curious if it would matter to pickleball if the lines weren't white. I think having two sets of white lines, similar to what Susan was saying, and kind of like the basketball analogy, having two sets of white lines seems confusing. I think in the color scheme, I would lean towards the green center just to eliminate as many colors as possible. But also having the boundary be different, mostly because where the baseline falls of the tennis line and the kitchen line are very close. On kind of both sides, like having that discrepancy of having a different color might help on the line side of things. That was
That is
question.
done a lot. That's how it is now. The pickleball lines are
Exactly.
red and the tennis lines
Exactly.
are white. So
Yeah.
that's not a.
So can
If
you
there's a
do
fourth
Okay.
color.
yellow and white or something like that to delineate the two?
Yeah.
I think that is super
Right now, the
helpful.
pickleball lines are blue and the tennis lines are white.
Yeah, when I've played on the tennis
Yeah,
court,
but you can't-
pickleball
you're not gonna
courts,
be able
I've
to
found
use
that
blue
super
on
helpful to
Yeah.
just like have that color difference. And then the second question is I wondered for the lack of like extraordinary contrast, like can we go like a sage green or something that's like not like full color discrepancy versus like an off shade enough that it would like be clear, but you're not running down like a zebraed court of like primary colors. I didn't know if
Yeah.
what you guys have seen across the country or like if that matters at all or anything like that.
The ones we've seen are pretty boldly different. This one is actually toned down from what we've seen. So we're like, let's tone it down. I mean, we spent a few hours this morning going through a lot of different options to try to sort that out.
Because I just,
It makes sense to
I just
have
Googled on here
not
images.
white lines. for
I just
both.
Googled images of tennis and pickleball courts, lines on the same court. I don't see one example that has this contrast in color. I see lots of examples of overlaying lines of same or different colors,
Right.
but I don't see anything that has that contrast, color for the pickleball courts. I don't know what examples you saw, but
So in an effort to not take too much time, if we were to drop the blue areas, just go with white lines or, I'm sorry, maybe blue
Two different
blue
colors.
lines on the on the pickleball courts and white lines on the tennis courts or vice versa or whatever. would we get approval to resurface these courts? My question, and the reason why I ask that is, and I'll take that back, say, no, that doesn't work. We want something more, or we're okay with it. The way,
To drop which?
drop the blue sections and make it basically essentially what it is right now.
With different lines.
What you can see on Google Maps with the pickleball lines, which doesn't show up. They don't show up on Google Maps, or it's an old photo. Can we get approval for that? Is
Gray.
what I'm asking.
What about if your colors for the pickleball court were the same color as, because I do see that when the pickleball court goes into the red on the outside, that's annoying. I could see that would be a pain.
Yep.
So if you made all of it green, the same, that all of the playing surface, whether it was pickleball or tennis, was the same color.
Right, we just
And then
have
different-
lines, the entire thing
and then
green, put lines on it, call it good. There's no distinction outside of the tennis. court.
Except for the two different colors of lines, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're just trying to help. It helps both tennis and pickleball to have that contrasting color, whether if it was just the, what was it, gray?
If you take the red away out on the outside.
Yeah,
does
but if
help.
you had the gray for the pickleball and not have the blue, and then you had that green for the tennis, then you'd both be able to identify with the solid baseline, the white baseline.
But you'd still have a square of blue right inside that.
We'd get rid of the blue,
Yeah, of course, we're saying if we get rid of the blue.
like make the pickleball courts all one color, rather than the two-tone,
Then just use a different color for the lines.
some different colors for the lines. Yeah.
So everything on here that's blue would then be green
Well, I was proposing.
in
that-
addition to the
I'm
green.
not so sure that everything is not green.
Well,
No, I'm.
No,
saying
the
take-
kitchen.
no,
We
but
could
take-
get
take
rid
it-
of the red too.
The kitchen has to be a different
Huh?
color.
We could get rid of the red too, is
Yeah.
what we're saying.
Okay,
Like a lime green for your kitchen?
Okay, hang on. Okay, everybody, whoa. Okay, now, is it possible for them to start surfacing, like if we give you approval for it to be surfacing and then we come back and we talk colors or layout or whatever next month? Is that a possibility, or do they need to have the
Either-
whole kit and caboodle
I'm
done?
not sure that it's gonna happen this year, so it's probably a spring project. At this
Well,
point, so.
but I think we could sign the contract and say, yes, do this, and then we can pick the colors.
And
Wait a little bit, we can pick
Yeah.
basically, okay, we're gonna do a 3-color project. And put it on your schedule kind of thing.
Mhm.
Wait,
how are you guys with that?
Fine.
You know, just. Okay, so, somebody want to make a motion?
and I'm a little, as an architect, I'm a little nervous about design by committee,
Yeah, I know.
picking colors, so I wanna, if we can figure out a way to have one way to.
Well, I think we've kind of given you a little bit, and if you could maybe show us visually what that looks like, if you just picked one color that works for everything and different color lines, or I don't know what.
Two colors,
I
so
think-
one
I
for the
think-
outside and one for the inside.
Yeah, something.
Yeah, I do think that the membership wants something for their money that's not exactly what it is. Like okay, we don't want to refinish the tennis courts and make them better for tennis, but not better for pickleball. In other words, we're putting the money into it, and that's where they wanted a little more pickleball forward, to have the courts more defined.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And
Really
the other
does.
one was, well, maybe we do 2 courts that are that pickleball forward, and the other one is just with lines.
Well, that's a thought.
Furthest east one or something. So there's a lot of negotiation points here, and I don't know how to do it with all of you all. And
I know.
we've only got 500 people to talk to.
Yeah.
You guys are easy.
I don't think Trevor thinks we're easy.
Do you need to go to council too, or once we say yes, it's good?
Okay, where do we want to go from here?
Does it need to go to council after us?
No, it doesn't have to go to the trustees after this.
Approval to finish the courts.
I mean, is that a thought to say, keep the?
Okay,
east
I think I
to
got it.
Keep the east court painted as it is with just pickleball lines, but tennis forward, and keep the other 2 courts pickleball forward?
Looking over here at me, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just looking because you're to the left and then to the right, like.
Well,
I
I don't
think
have to vote.
I'm okay with it.
Okay.
I'm curious if there's more efficiency in repainting in another configuration. So I wonder if it's worth exploring what we just talked about, if it's all one color with different lines or two colors with different lines. I'm okay conceptually with that. One tennis court forward facing and the other two pickleball forward.
And we still are on timing here, but I just want
We're
to throw
not.
something out. As Eric and I were Googling, there are other total different configurations where you can fit more courts on one area.
We've looked
We've
a
already looked
lot.
at that,
We've
but we would be taking away tennis court.
You know what it is it looks like there's the tennis court lines and then there's just the lines down for the pickle courts.
These guys are experts in that,
I'm just
Rose.
saying, Google.
Yeah, we have hundreds of options. We
Yeah.
can bring them all in for you.
The four, there's
He's- but
four
he's
on the
the
one.
architect.
Yeah, we
No,
were,
so we can't do, here's the reason why we can't do that, Rose. The tennis courts are actually not wide enough.
Okay,
And so what happens is,
futsal versus
if you,
soccer
if you
courts.
go out there, they're wide on the sides, but they're close in between the first
Got
and
it.
second court and second and third court. And tennis players need that width to go out wide and actually
Just trying to find
probably
more
get onto the
courts.
other court. No, I know. If it was a normal 60 by 120, 1, 2, 3, then we could do 4 courts on one tennis court. But we can't do that. We could do it this way, but then we start, anyways, it becomes.
Got it.
Yeah.
We've
It
looked
becomes
at
very
moving,
confusing,
No, I see that.
moving the east fence 10 feet out would buy us a lot of room, but
but then we have to add the concrete and
you
then
know,
we have
then it's
another
like, oh,
line,
forget that.
another crack. And yeah, problem.
One project leads to another.
Yeah.
but wait, let me just finish that thought, because if we added 10 feet, would it add 2, 4, 6 more courts rather than having to build that? Like,
You would have to add, I think we're at 150, I think it has to be 25 feet to the
Okay.
east.
I just
It's
didn't know,
more,
because
yeah.
we keep talking about all these other courts, so if it's much easier to just add it to these
But
existing
it's
courts.
25 feet with a crack running right down the sideline of a tennis court. It's
That's not so good,
Not gonna be
okay.
great.
No.
Got it.
We've looked at it. I know.
She's ready for a motion.
Make a motion.
So it's just-
Do we want to subcommittee this or are we doing the whole color scheme thing right now?
Let's see what she says and if we agree.
Okay, that's one way to do it.
I move that we allow the resurfacing, we generously accept the resurfacing of these courts by you guys. And we have 2 courts with this blue, green, red color scheme. I mean, 2 tennis courts with this blue, green, red color scheme and 1 court that's more of like a green, green color scheme, green, red color scheme. So 2 courts get you your blue,
Kitchen.
yeah, the blue,
Not the-
one,
not
but
the
1
kitchen.
court stays better for tennis with all green.
Back. yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
Oh, I second that motion at least. I'll get it moving to see what. we
Okay, is
think.
there any additional discussion on this? Drew's got an opinion.
I
I mean,
have
we're
an
seconded
opinion.
into a motion. I
Well,
don't think I can
No,
talk.
we can still, you can still talk about the motion.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we vote,
Um,
or we amend it.
From me.
What were you suggesting about?
well, we were halfway through a discussion on color scheme and lines and all that sort of thing, and I totally agree that workshopping this with this entire group is not the option. Obviously, you guys have done the research on this and have seen more courts than most of us. I do think that a tennis perspective on playing with these courts, colored versus not colored lines versus not colored lines would be beneficial. And so I don't know if we want to like subcommittee this to like 2 people to reach out to tennis players and like workshop the colors with them. And I don't know if you guys have already done that or not. In sake of fairness of talking about equal play on these courts. Or in my opinion, personally, I think the full green court, everything, and just like have base color neutral and lines is the only difference, really is kind of the middle ground. But I do understand that, you know, contrast sometimes helps. Sometimes it's also confusing though. And so I just didn't feel like we finished that discussion.
I think this is an extremely generous offer from the Pickleball Association, and I think pickleball is going to grow more than tennis in the next 10 years, and that this is a move in the right direction.
It's just paint we're talking about. It's just paint.
Yeah. I just would, the only part of the motion I didn't agree with was stating the colors and the scheme. So I'm kind of withdrew on that, and I would be fine deferring that to staff if that's something staff wanted to weigh in on the colors and give a final okay on. but the concept I support. I just don't know that what we're seeing is the right paint configuration.
So make an amendment and say that we agree for them, the resurfacing, but we'll defer to staff. Is that a thing? Is that a motion we can make for color?
Could we say 1 tennis forward court and 2 pickleball forward
Tennis courts.
court?
I think
tennis
that's what
courts?
Susan said.
Yeah.
That's, yeah, that's
But you're
Yeah.
still agreeing with that.
And then
Yes.
we figure out the colors.
pending.
I didn't say the specific color of green or red.
You said green and blue.
Pending
Blue,
color
whatever.
approval.
Final
Staff?
approval by town staff.
Pending color approval by staff.
Are you guys okay with that?
You know, the decision being made tonight is how pickleball forward do we want these courts to be? I mean, that's really the decision that's being made, right? Because right now there's blended lines on there, which means it's a tennis court that has blended pickleball lines on there. And so it can function in 2 ways, but it is more of a tennis court with painted pickleball lines on it. This is can be considered pickleball courts with tennis lines around it. So that's the kind of decision we need to make. I think that it's probably smart to look at, you know, doing some pickleball forward and leaving some tennis, because we have an option to do that, right? And so we're still satisfying both there. And so how that works and how that looks in the end, I think is, you know, depends on, you know, which way we want to go. So I think the look at pickleball forward on some of the courts and still have tennis forward on some of the courts is probably a good compromise for this offer.
Okay.
So
Kay, can you read that motion back to us? Is it possible?
Susan moves to accept resurfacing of the pickleball courts, 2 with the blue, green, red color scheme. That would be for the pickleball forward courts, and 1 with the green scheme. That would be the tennis forward court.
Do you want to put an
And I still
amendment
second that.
yeah, to just eliminate the reference to
So
the
I
colors?
add an amendment for the colors to be determined.
By
Okay.
town staff.
Is there a second to the amendment?
I second the amendment.
Okay. All right. Are we there? Okay.
is that going to be okay for your membership though? Is that their vision, or is
I think
that
that's
a
something we can sell.
is that a
We need
compromise
to
that they
sell
want?
it, but yes,
Okay.
I agree. We could sell that.
I also just thank you
Oh.
so much for doing this.
Yeah, no
Pickleball is so
kidding.
hip
Yeah.
and so in. So thank you so much for all your time and work and efforts and these meetings.
We still need to vote. I think.
All right. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second and an amendment and a second. So we're going to vote. So all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Go ahead. Okay, any abstentions? Okay. Okay, I think the motion carries, right?
Right.
All right.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
very much.
Thank
guys.
you. Thank you
so
for your
hip.
tenacity. Oh my gosh. Are you ready, Nick? Aren't you glad we have a full commission tonight?
Are you all ready is the question.
Oh, my.
What color is it gonna be?
What color is it?
Colors about the park. None of you get to choose colors of this park. I'm kidding. I missed you all. How's everybody? It is a full house tonight.
It is. We're only missing one. You're intimidated? I know, we're a scary bunch.
Before you know it.
You know what, Rose? I'm good on P and Z. That's it's. I was gonna say you have your pickleball nights. We have our parking nights. It happens to all of us. Good evening. Thank you for having me tonight. Here to give an update on Chacos Park. A few changes have happened. We did some. I'm sure. I think actually, Erica, you kind of shared a little bit prior. But in talking with Eric, we thought it would be a good idea to come in and give an update because there was some, I think, significant changes to the plan. So wanted to give that as well as kind of talk through the kind of where we're at and some other elements of it, and get some feedback from everybody. That's something a good plan. All right. What did I learn last time on this? Hold on a second here. There we go. Okay. So our goal hasn't changed. We're still looking to create a Swiss Army knife of a town square for Carbondale. We needed to cover 40 plus, nearly 50 events a year, ranging from farmers markets to music in the park to DIA to all kinds of great things, and maybe even some sort of connection to Mountain Fair in the far future. So thinking about that, in addition, thinking about the direction we've received regarding beautification, enhancement of seating, general comfort, thinking about how the park is green moving forward, and really being thoughtful about where trees are placed. Thinking about the Chacos legacy, the family, and how we've gotten some tips on that, and wanting to respect and reflect all the great things that they have done over the years. And then last but not least, thinking about the family character of Carbondale, thinking about kids, families, the needs across the age and ability spectrum. And you've seen these things, just wanting to kind of open with that reminder. Central open green space, vegetation framing, as well as softening the park. And then the idea of a raised multifunctional platform. In general, multifunctional is kind of that key concept for Chacos. We really want every space to be able to do more than one thing. This community has so many needs. This is really the heart. It needs to beat loud, and it needs to beat strong. This was the framework direction that this commission chose back at our second meeting. The big idea here was that platform went on the east side and it faced to the west, really connecting, responding to that direction from the trustees to bring 4th Street Plaza into the mix on this. That direction was provided because we talked about taking 4th Street and really leveling it off. So there would be no more kind of curb head or flow line, but we would kind of move into that fun word of Woonerf. Or really a pedestrian space all across, where pedestrians are elevated to the priority and vehicles are really kind of given the back seat or a subservient role. With that, there was 2 pieces. One, kind of removing the buffer from the seasonal water play feature, and then also confirming shade for the platform and the park. It was subsequent shade studies that led us to have to make some big decisions on some changes. There are a lot of images here. I'm just going to walk you through it. There are a couple of ovals. There are yellow ovals that show the sun for the days of concern or moments of concern for the platform. The platform will be, it is used not just as a stage, but also think about it as cafe seating, a shaded area where movable chairs and tables can sit. So folks during the day can enjoy that. As I run into Eric, we say, oh, great, we just got a coffee from Bonfire. Let's hang out under the shade zone up on the platform. The blue oval identifies where the hockey rink fits, or the ice rink, sorry. So we're thinking about shade and the impacts of sun in 2 different directions. One, kind of the multifunctional way that platform would be impacted, and then how we would be able to be thoughtful about maintaining the quality of ice over the arc of winter. We all kind of saw what happened this winter. It was pretty rough, and I think also with the world getting hotter a little bit, and also the removal of the old Siberian elm, shade is really minimal on that side of the park. So all this to say, what we came to the conclusion of is, in spring, we're really seeing spring and fall, our hip seasons, really challenging to keep ice cold and out of the sun. And then as far as looking at kind of the later hours of the day, 3 p.m. and on, that sun's going to be blasting in the faces, and just that shade structure does very little. So for the investment, you don't really get the greatest value from it. So with that, we went back to the drawing board and we kind of looked back at that alternative A. And this is just a quick diagram showing us how we broke down that space, how we began to see, move forward with A. We went back to A because that platform and future trees on the south side will provide an amazing amount of shade. And if that was the biggest concern, we really saw that being an opportunity to understand or to provide shade for the park, for its users, as well as that ice rink. So with this diagram, if you'll notice a few things, that green arrow going around its side, we really wanted to provide an accessible route around and through the entire park. So folks of all ages and abilities would really be able to move through that space. We looked at it with Sopris and we realized that not only is there, kind of a, we noticed there's drainage issues on both sides, both in 4th Street and in Chacos. So instead of raising 4th Street like we'd originally conceptualized to connect the two spaces, we actually found that we could lower the sidewalks on both sides, keep 4th Street at its current elevation, save money by not raising it, and at that point, create that connection. So the green arrow around is showing that circuit. The 2 pink arrows, one pointing to Main Street, is kind of now the more formal arrival off of Main. That centers on that raised platform. And then the pink arrow going down the center of the datum going west to east is kind of connecting. So thinking about how people can move across when that 4th Street transition area kind of shifts back and forth from a vehicular mode to a pedestrian or event mode. I'm gonna pause there. I just threw a bunch out. There's this funny looking green pill on the screen. Any questions? Any point of clarification so far?
You guys like the colors?
Yes.
Nice.
One question with lowering it, I love that idea of like still having it at the same level, obviously saving money on the whole build of it. With lowering it to that level, having it raised, it did kind of create like a really clear delineation of pedestrian versus vehicle. With it lowered, is there an alternative that would serve that same purpose?
Absolutely.
Cool.
Materials. And then we're about to good question, Drew. So materials and some other pieces. So we'll touch that in a second. I want to quickly note the raised platform. Yes, it is skewed on purpose. One of the traditions with the movable stage is that it kind of occupies that 45-degree angle in the corner there. And Eric said, what can you do? We really love to kind of turn this thing a little bit more toward the intersection. And so that was just something in the back of our minds, thinking about respecting that the best we could. And we were able to do a little bit with that, but clearly that the ice rink, wanting to maintain the dimension of the 70 by 40, we were really limited with how much we could encroach into that space. Lastly, the garden buffer on the outside, and then the seasonal water play, which I am grateful to our trustee Mom Caucus for helping us with that. We really saw that as a boon, not only for families in Carbondale and those who cannot afford or are able to get to the pool, but also as a very valuable component for downtown businesses. I don't know about you all, but we have bought many cheeseburgers in Willits so our kids could go play at Triangle Park. And we would love something like that. Folks be doing that here in Carbondale. I think it'd be awesome for businesses to have that kind of opportunity too.
Nick, what does that say under the pink arrow? It says water play and then there's some
Seasonal seating. Sorry. So,
okay.
So when it's not, so think about fall, winter, and early spring. It could be anything from that's where the fire pits could go for when the ice rink is out. That could be on Light the Night. That's maybe where you are loading up, or we are loading up the carriage that goes around town. So that space, when it's not in water feature mode, it's this opportunity to have more cafe seating out there or other functionality to it. Yeah. Susan?
Nick, so the blue dotted line, is that the ice rink? What is that?
It is, yes.
Okay.
And this is just a very kind of generic diagram. We're gonna kind of go into a quick sketch we put together to kind of further identify.
And didn't the band, the raised platform encroach on that parking on that side?
This is just a diagram, just kind of show that, but it does. It's a cheater diagram that colors outside of the lines. But we'll get it tight for you in a second.
First of all, I think the reorientation of the platform is hugely beneficial. I think for anybody who's on that platform, experiencing sun in the face coming directly as it would have been very uncomfortable. So that's great. I do have a question about the water play. It was stated previously, it might have been anecdotally, I'm not sure, that water could, it can't be recycled. Is that true?
It is not true.
That's not true. Okay.
It can be recycled. There are multiple different systems we could be looking at. And of course, there's price is going to be a big component, as well as maintenance and longevity. But there are, we could have two vaults essentially, where one vault is basically cleaning the water and recirculating it, or we could have a single vault that is where we would just be getting kind of one-time use water, and then that could be going off to irrigation afterwards. So that'll come down to moving into the next phase. It'll be kind of like that'll be a design build piece that to the trustees kind of direction will be based on funding.
I see
where that might go.
Good. I'm glad that's being discussed, because if we're calling it a green space, which might just be the greenery, et cetera, might be confused with sustainable. And I know that everyone cares about water conservation. So that's great.
And we're being very thoughtful about that. We know that it can be, and by some will be perceived as a waste of water. And I think we would be very clear moving forward that is, what the cost of water is. And I forgot, Yancey had given me some really great numbers, but basically what we calced out through, we kind of understood the arc of use over kind of prime summer months. And then Yancey took that, or Surface Engineering took that and kind of ran the numbers through. And basically the cost of water for a typical year of use for this feature would be about 2 households of water. So in the grand scheme of things, for the amount of children that are going to use it, it's quite a small amount of water.
Both options, or that's the recycled option, or?
That's one-time use. So water comes in, it gets used, and then it goes to our water treatment plant. And so the cost of that is, again, being sensitive, relatively minimal for the amount of for a free play feature downtown.
Sure. Yeah. I think using it for irrigation would be a good option. It'd probably be less costly.
So we would love to do that. We also learned through that calculation that we will have more water than we can use in this zone.
Oh, wow.
So we could use that, and then there would be an overflow that would go into water treatment, or we could look at, kind of talking with parks and understanding, are there main lines that we can plug into to send more water further out. We would love to take it to Sopris, for example. It's a hike. So, but yes, these are all really good comments, and we try to be thoughtful on those topics.
Great, thanks.
Yep.
If I can just add to that, I'm working with a community that has a rather new splash feature. Well, maybe not too new, I'm not sure on the year of it, but it's been a tremendous amount of maintenance. And so I think before, this is very conceptual still, and I think you're gonna get to your site plan, but we're still not at construction drawings. But I think there's a lot of conversation that needs to happen with other communities and how intensive that is to maintain and upkeep. So it's town of Parachute, and theirs is probably larger than what this would be. Their field is massive. It's easily a soccer field, if not more, that they're putting it back into, which is great. But it's still, I know, a lot of costs for them annually.
As far as repairing the actual
mechanics of the feature.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that buying more expensive?
I'm just saying it's high maintenance. That is a high maintenance amenity.
How old is this one?
I'm not sure. I didn't think it was that old, but
Okay.
I don't know the year on it.
And I mean, and this is anecdotal.
Yeah.
But I think technology is improving dramatically, and yes, there are a lot of moving parts. And so it's something that is, every manufacturer that we've talked to is, touts the improvements, and the reduction of maintenance and how it's much more about water quality testing daily. But that is just anecdotal.
And I absolutely love it and want to see it here and can't believe there's not something down Valley, and Triangle Park is so minimal anyways. I think it's great. It's just, let's
Yep.
at that point go in eyes wide open on what the costs are going to be.
Yep. This is proposed, well, let's move on. Any more questions before I dig in? Okay, site plan, here we go. So one of the big challenges that Chris, trustee Chris kind of laid on us was, it looked very formal, looked very tight in kind of the framework plans. And they were framework plans, they are kind of tight. This was our opportunity to start breaking things down, making things a little bit more fun, a little bit more Carbondale, thinking about how we could deal with the ground plane, and bring in, see how close we can get everybody here. Is that a little bit better? And we'll provide a PDF of this afterwards as well for everybody, so you can review it on your own time. So central lawn, you see that it is really, as we went out with our steering committee on Monday and actually staked the site a little bit, we're losing a very small amount of the actual lawn from where we're at now, because of our ability to move and kind of narrowing 4th Street. So walking around the site, you'll see 2 different kinds of paving. There's this tan paving, which is a special paving. At this point, that will be dependent on budget. 3 levels of opportunity. It could be, in the Cadillac version, it could be stone paving that is likely going to be outside of our budget. Mid-level would be a textured and kind of integral colored concrete that would be just to delineate, or I'm sorry, actually that would be our low end. Mid end would be more of a kind of a concrete paver to go in that, to just again delineate. And I think it was Drew's question earlier, talking about that kind of acknowledgement of when you kind of come across. And so we're looking at using different types of paving to not only connect and orient folks as far as where the pedestrian routes are, but also bring that texture in. So if you're in a vehicle and you are moving north or south on 4th Street, you really feel that change. You really feel those moments, not like in speed bump, but textural changes through the car's tires. Similar planting zones around or along Main Street, looking to buffer. There will be a few street trees, but otherwise it'll be 36 inch tall mixed vegetation, thinking about really native adapted plants in there, high color, high season, really having fun with that, but also something that will move into winter as well. So thinking about seasonality, texture in there. We really liked this paving pattern, the idea of kind of how it's like breaking apart and using this 2 foot by 2 foot grid to think about dissolving into the lawn. We wanted to think about play with this. Again, going back to families, perhaps the biggest key here are these white blocks. As a designer, in over 20 years, I'd never had the chance to work with marble before. And we have a very interesting relationship with the marble quarry. For the youth art park, they sent us 3 truckloads of marble blocks. One of the things that I realized that blew my mind was on the hottest day of the summer, you go there and you put your hand on those blocks and they are cool to the touch. It's absolutely amazing. Not to mention that just in general, getting to play with large marble blocks is really, really fun. It's kind of like like adult Legos. I just couldn't get enough of it. And so we played off of that idea. A lot of folks have commented on how they love kind of like the rough industrial nature of those. And so we thought about what would it be like to use those as both seats, as both lily pads for kids to hop from pad to pad, but also to give structure and form to these beds. So that kind of what you see is this play off on a 2 by 2 grid, which is that special paving. And then we were looking at just again, kind of rough schematic level, 6-foot lengths and 4-foot lengths of those kind of marble blocks that act as seating. I'm sure folks have seen like similar versions in sandstone, like a buff sandstone or a red sandstone at various parks in your experience. We would just love the opportunity to continue a relationship with the Marble Quarry and see if they would continue to take care of our community as a neighbor. So perhaps getting out a little bit over our ski tips on that one, but we can all dream, can't we? And so seating, as well as play, as well as framing and elevating those planter beds. In addition, one of our steering committee members had a fantastic idea and talked about actually providing some backs on some of them for our elderly community, so that there would actually be, so they aren't just kind of flat spaces, some can actually, you can relax on them. And we actually found a precedent for that. So kind of prefab backs would be located on some of them. We'll get into that in a second. The big party piece is kind of the raised platform on the south end of the site. You'll see that this also has taken on an irregular form and slightly kind of moving north as it moves to the east, trying to get that canted to look toward that intersection. The platform is 21 inches overall tall, or a series of 3 7-inch steps. The steps are irregular. Sometimes it's too high, so a little bit of a backrest. So what you end up having are a series of little spaces that could be seating, could be steps, various kind of, again, playing with that multifunctional kind of approach, and an irregular kind of almost melting out into the earth, if you will. And we have some other sketches to show what that looks like. The dashed line over the top is the shade structure. And moving back to 4th Street now, we have gone where we found a lot of space savings with those angled in parking. We've turned those and we have lost 3 spaces. But now we have 4 parallel parking spaces on street. And we actually brought in additional spaces for bike racks to really, again, kind of bring into that pedestrian bicycling quality of our community. Something to be said about those bike racks, as well as these bollards that are located, they're all movable. So this park can do some pretty cool things in times of events, both small, medium, and large, which we'll touch on in a second. So quick look at the circulation patterns. You can see kind of what we were aiming for as far as that outer ring that is all ADA accessible. The platform has ramps on both sides that are wheelchair accessible and meet standards. Also can be used for moving equipment for various events up and down and easily. Vehicular is in the gray area arrows, bicycle parking in yellow. This is our seating, planting, and shade diagram. First things first, the large circles is the tree canopy to show where those sit. The dark areas are the planter beds, really, kind of leaning toward a couple of the buffer, as well as the remembrance of the Chacos family, what they did with planter boxes along Main Street. Charlie and Eric, brothers, really loved the planter components of this. They were very, very fond of that. There are 2 kinds of seats. They're all in pink. If they have a dark pink outline, it's just kind of the block, where the ones you see with a yellow outline, those are the backed versions of that. So we're really trying to think about putting the backed versions to face the platform, as well as some to face Main Street. So, and then a couple over on the east side as well, just to think about providing both kind of comfort options as well as these multifunctional or play options. One of the requests from the steering committee was also to pull more planting over to the west side of 4th Street. So we did put a couple of those over there. In doing that, we were concerned about farmers market, knowing that there are 24 stalls that have to fit into this space. So we wanted to make sure that we could do that. So this diagram identifies just really sticking with that pink theme, and no, you can't change it. It's really fun for me anyways. Those 20, so we were actually able to squeeze in 26 stalls. The one caveat is some of the bollards would have to be relocated. As you can see here though, we're recommending extra sleeves be put in so that those bollards aren't just taken away and Eric's crews have to kind of haul them across either to the storage sheds or somewhere else. they can be relocated for various events. So the bollards kind of come out of areas that they are not needed, and they can be replaced in areas to clearly identify kind of a do not pass for cars. So we liked that, again, kind of the functionality of that.
Going up and going down once we can stand on them.
The pneumatic bollards, Rose, if you want to pay for those, I'm sure Carbondale would be very grateful. No, these are just twist and remove ones, pretty simple, pretty easy. And then you can see also where the ice rink does fit in its standard footprint in that same area as well. And I'm gonna pause and kind of on this one to give you kind of a look at, whoops, sorry. Just put together some quick models because I think this helps identify a little bit more of the character of that platform, how it works, the irregular playfulness of the shade structure. And we're gonna get into that, the kind of the fence behind. We left part of it open so you can kind of see, and we'll get there in a second, with that fence that delineates the park from the alley.
Hey, Nick, just so you know, we're coming up on the halfway on the 30-minute mark.
Yep, and we're about done here.
Okay.
I'm trying to go as fast as I can.
I know, we just have so much going on.
Yep.
I hate that because these are all so important.
So then I won't take questions. I'll just keep moving.
Well, everybody interrupts you anyway, so.
So this shows
Okay.
on summer solstice, the sun at 6 p.m.
Oh.
So the idea, so now you can clearly see that we are really in a shaded condition. This is winter solstice at noon. So if you imagine ice being right in the middle of that park, we are grabbing the shade from the south. Here's a view to the south, from the south, looking over. Just a kind of a character shot, ground level. Okay, quickly, a pause here. So this gives you kind of a sense of two things. Number one, the fence and to the shade structure. For this fence, because we don't have a view of Sopris from the park, we thought we'd bring Sopris to us. So we use a silhouette of Sopris for the fence. A big request a lot of folks asked for was, no, we don't, we already, people can't understand why they can't have the parking spaces and what it's all about. And people don't want to see the alley or the back of the launch pad. So we thought, a decorative fence was really a great way to both edit those views as well as to create kind of a nice backdrop. As shown here, and then when we showed the outline, but we left half of it open so you can kind of see kind of with and without. The idea is like in this case, showing with the core 10 steel, and they are panels, individual panels that fit in between posts. There are 13 panels. The lower 3/4 is solid. The upper is more of a kind of a water jet or kind of a pattern, a perf pattern to give a little bit more lightness to it. So it's not all like a very solid kind of looming, aggressive finish. And that similar pattern, the shade structure up top, it is meant to stop shade or minimize shade or sun rather, but not stop water. So with that, and working with the steering committee, we were really trying to find an exciting way to respond to the Chacos family and to kind of memorialize them. One of the things we learned through the process of speaking with folks, and one of the stories we were told was Charlie's dad, who, Eric, I'm forgetting his name. I'm spacing. Chris, thank you. Thank you. His employees used to call him the hummingbird. The way he buzzed around town, he was just all over the place, never stopping. And we asked Charlie, would it be okay if we brought, a hummingbird motif into this? And so one of the ideas they came up with was to work with Carbondale Arts to find an artist to bring in kind of this story of hummingbirds into the back fence and the shade structure into this pattern. So as the sun moved over, we would actually see hummingbirds moving across the landscape in kind of light and shadow. And we thought that was a really fun way to kind of think about Chris watching over the community as kind of the sun moved, the hummingbirds would move, and it felt like a really cool idea. So
I'm gonna start crying.
Did I hear you correctly? You said it is shading, but it's not waterproof?
correct.
So it's not going to protect the band from rain?
It's a shade structure. It is not meant to be. It felt like for the size of this park, making that an opaque structure has a few things. Number one, the weight, snow loading, and the aesthetic visual weight. And so we lean toward more of a kind of a screened, permeable type of material. And again, very early, but trying to see playing with levels, playing with form, nothing like very regular, but something that is a little bit more broken up. We really love how playful, the Rio Grande archway is. This is Carbondale. And so we wanted to take us out of the box a little bit with that. But to your point, Susan, no, it is not intended to stop rain. However, there are things that could be done to consider how that might be able to be changed with different kinds of additions to it. Another view, lastly, from kind of the El Dorado side of things. And with that, I know Mike stopped by tonight. He asked if he could kind of come and say a few words, and I said that'd be awesome. So I don't know if it's all right, but I know Mike wanted to check in with everybody. And not to push into your decorum rules, but since no public comment was asked for before, I just wanted to throw that out there. But that's it from me.
Everybody's looking.
Questions, comments?
Yeah, I did have a comment about the fact that it's a permeable shade. I'm a musician and I have that experience. I honestly think it's okay. It's very rare to get rained on heavily during a gig, but also there are ways to protect the equipment. The town could have available, impermeable tarps or something like that. Especially if we're, hiring from the town of Carbondale for insurance purposes, whatever. I think it's fine. I think the character of it shouldn't be sacrificed for a very minimal and unlikely circumstance.
We're done. Thanks. So we'll say if there was like a kind of a click in some sort of like under kind of panel that could come out in the rain, that could provide some support for that as well. Some sort of like a canvas, or we see kind of these a typical shade cloth.
Great.
Yes.
Okay, I have one kudos on the use, not just one, but kudos on the use of shade and really using that to the advantage of the park. Two comments, they're probably more criticisms, but I'm going to go quick. So I don't like the paving broken up in the lawn itself. I think there's too much use of this space that it just won't be a clean aesthetic and practicality. And I think to Drew's earlier point about that water feature and having some definition between the drive area and where that is, it would be nice to move blocks of the stone behind that to kind of serve as bollards or some kind of vertical definition between the spaces, between the water play and the drive area. And then the question is, where do the porta potties go?
Where to what?
The porta potties?
Oh.
Over in the parking lot.
That's not our parking lot?
So the trustees have talked about, we brought this up, and there was a no bathroom as part of this. But there was talk of expanding and modifying the entrances and the connections to the launch pad bathrooms to provide improved services and access to those bathrooms. But there are no porta potty locations in this park as designed today.
I feel like that's not realistic because that's only when the art base is open, right? Or
Well, no, because
launch pad?
where those bathrooms sit on that building, you
Yeah,
could
it's
create
like-
an access to the outside of the bathrooms that would
and
that
lock
would
off
be
the
able to
rest of
lock
the
off the rest of the building.
Yep.
Is that from a maintenance standpoint, like those bathrooms would be open and accessible like park bathrooms?
Yeah, like a park bathroom. Yeah,
Okay.
on a
I
timer lock
prefer
system like our regular
Running
park
water
bathroom.
over porta potties?
And honestly, if we needed space, this area down here in the southwest corner would be able to hold a bank of quick math, 2, 4, 4 porta potties.
And some of our special
It's
events
a
actually do put porta potties there when they need additional porta potties than
That's what I was thinking.
what's offered there already, so.
And also Carbondale Arts asked that we find, they said the response to the bread phone booth has been great out there, and they said, and they'd be open to putting it there as well. So hasn't been placed in this plan as of today. Grandma in there might be not happy about that, so you gotta talk to her. She's any other questions or comments? Thank you for the critique, Ashley. So there, to your one, so noted on the disintegrating or the pavers in there, Ashley, as far as delineating this space, we can absolutely put some blocks there. There was multiple comments with the old buffer, the planted buffer, to remove that and leave that open so that events could flow through. I hear both sides. So originally we had it broken up a little bit, and I think, you know, a couple of blocks along there would be still permeable, would allow the movement, but it would delineate clearly. So
Makes me nervous as a toddler parent.
yeah, right.
Runners.
Yep.
Real
Yeah,
quick
Eric.
question.
Make it red and green.
Real quick,
Okay.
the marble, you said special relationship. Does the quarry donate the marble to the town of Carbondale?
They did last time.
Okay.
And again, that's why I said, you know, not wanting to get out over my ski tips with that one.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Okay.
You know, it was a really great relationship with that project, and what we ended up using were, I don't want to call them garbage blocks, but they weren't blocks that were of countertop value for the, you know, except for the stairs. The stairs are the one kind of high quality block that they did give us. But again, I think going with that more industrial quarried kind of look, so many folks have some folks don't like the painted on stuff. Also, they're like, what's with the painted on numbers? But when they realize it came from the quarry like that, it has a kind of a good, I think, story behind it. Like a certain level, I guess, of honesty or authenticity of like Marble Quarry is just on the road from us.
Rose.
Okay, so a couple of comments and questions and et cetera. So first of all, thank you so much for saying the word loud, because keep Carbondale funky. I love, you know, a cool park right downtown. So excited about trying to save money by looking into the water, where it's gonna go and keeping the street lower. That is, I appreciate the extra look rather than just going with what we were gonna do. Adding all those beds, I know right now, I don't know if Carbondale still does it, but we do like an adopt-a-bed program. Do we have staffing to maintain those beds? Are they just year-round, they don't need the staff, the time? I'm just wondering, that's my first question for those beds.
They'll definitely need help, especially when they're getting established, to keep weeds out and to allow the plants to kind of fill in the space. You know, we have not done, you know, we're just looking at this as a schematic level at this point, have not actually done a kind of a detailed planting plan. But I think the idea is to have a mix of kind of dense kind of shrubs that could cover a lot of that ground, but then also areas where we would have seasonal color and change. So no planting bed is ever no maintenance, but the hope would be low maintenance in that.
Absolutely love the hummingbird and the Sopris background. I know someone else on this committee that has a Sopris background because she needed one. So love that. And then I just want to throw this out there. Has the thought even been thought of to just block out that street and no longer have a street and make it all park?
It's above my pay grade.
I don't know if we're doing all this, if we're gonna do it all once, maybe just do it all once. And is that a thing that the town would even want, or?
Well, another way to look at this is almost like a pilot program,
Right.
if you will, you know, like, you know, this, you know, right now we know we have nearly 50 days of events where that section would be closed. This gives the town an opportunity to look at that, you know, or expand that program in kind of a low impact way. And then if it is something that is successful, everything's there in place, and it's pretty easy. So I think we're kind of giving the town a chance to check into that. But I think it's a really great question. I know, you know, Amy Kimberly has talked about it in the past. You know, I think a lot of folks have brought it up. So it's, I think it's.
Dip our toes here and then go for something bigger. Okay. Great.
The volunteering for the weeding of the beds. The National Honor Society at the high school is looking to move volunteer stuff into the community as well. And that's like a bank of at least 30 students who need a certain amount of volunteering hours each semester. So I'm not sure when this project will be finished, But if at that time there are volunteers needed, I would contact the high school about that because there's plenty of students who.
That sounds great. And with 30 of you, you're gonna have to go really slow.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I
Because
mean,
it's,
people do different
there's
things.
not a whole lot of playground
but-
beds out here.
Yeah, it only works out for some people, so like
Right.
2 people can do like 1 volunteer opportunity. And they eventually get all their hours, but it might be something worth checking out.
I bet you're hired, just. Thank you. That's a great idea. Appreciate it.
Can I make one comment? I also see this, do you remember when El Dorado came and they wanted to put the patio there? And since we've moved the stage, that would kind of open up that option again and add even more space to the park and kind of that fun, funky flavor.
What's it called? Free home range or something in Basalt that they do, that they have their, that they open for their concerts. Do we need a decision or are we doing a
Where
thing?
are we in this process then about, where are we in this process then about, public comment and input? And I mean, this is what's been approved by the trustees. Where are we going?
So
from
we
here,
are,
Nick?
so this is, we're doing a work session with the trustees next week. So we will review kind of where things are at with them, kind of gauge, their take on things. And at this point, we will be wrapping up the schematic package and looking to submit that for trustee review and comment formally in September.
Wow. Okay.
Public comment has been closed. We did end up doing triple the amount of engagement that was originally planned. And although not all of it was massively attended, the great part about it was all in the same direction. No matter everything we did, we heard the same thing. And that's kind of going back to these early items here where it was just flexible, green, shade, seating, families, more attractive, more functional.
Can't wait. Did you need a decision between 3 and 4 or no? Oh,
Huh?
that's what it says in the map, in the,
Decision?
it just says discuss steering committee meetings, 3
Oh.
+ 4 input.
No, that was our last two. I wove all their comments into this presentation tonight. So that is, they've been discussed.
Check.
What did Mike, what did Mike want to talk about?
Mike he just asked if it'd be okay if he came and made some comments. And I said, that I think that,
Mike, can you do it in like 2 minutes? 3 minutes.
What's up, council? I'm Mike and Nick is lying. He asked me to be here. No, seriously. Arnold is my last name. Address is 105 Bowles Drive, Carbondale. I was recently invited to participate in the steering committee meetings and as a direct neighbor, owner, operator of El Dorado, also own 5 different parcels on Main Street, which we'll be coming to talk to you guys about in a future date. But I'm invested in Carbondale. I know I haven't been here very long, but I'm raising my kids here. My kids want this to be a home base. All the buildings and land that I own is in my kids' name. It'll survive me once I'm long gone. So this is not a turn and burn situation. I really do care about this place and it means a lot to me. And to be included in the steering committee meetings with you folks and be able to be a helpful part of this process, I just really appreciate. So thank you very much. I'm in full support of what's going on right here. I love the fact that you moved the stage, wink, wink. And I do think that El Dorado could provide, it's already a fun space, right? It's missing a few things. It's missing a patio. It's missing a little bit of how can we provide some free services to people in the park, whether it be music. This isn't an alcohol play. We've had 100 bands in there in less than a year. 100 DJs, music, live music, what so have you. And I think in tandem, if we thought about it correctly and put El Dorado in play with the park, it would just be an unbelievable add to the community overall. And I'm all for this park, and Nick and Eric and some of us have talked about ways that I can support this park financially, different ways that I can help out with this park to move it forward. And I'm just all in. So I just wanted to express my support for this project. And I think Nick and crew have just done an amazing job with the design. I mean, from the marble pieces, from the step back little stones, from the hummingbird, it's beautiful. So well done. You have my full support, and I look forward to it. And in any way I can, I know Nick and Eric will chat some more about how I can help you guys move this project forward, because I think it's beneficial to both parties.
Right on.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming, Mike. I'm sure you have some other things that you could be doing on.
Well, I was going to play pickleball, but with all these lines, I get confused.
All these lines and color, you just can't see.
There's so many lines.
Oh, thanks for coming tonight.
Um,
And we look forward to collaborating with you.
Absolutely, I'm all in.
you know, Mike had made some very gracious comments during steering committee, and I just thought, I asked him to come because I thought he shared them with Eric and I just thought it was important for the community to know just of his kind of gracious offers and yeah, so that was, appreciate that as well. In closing, you know, my Gen Z kid asked for a tennis racket yesterday, so there you go. And I'm out. No, seriously, this has been an awesome opportunity. So grateful to be able to, you know, a lot of anxiety, you know, helping your town find its first town square. But so honored. I know Yancey and I, our teams have been like really excited about this process. We think we've found something that is funky and, you know, fun enough to fit Carbondale, a way that, you know, checks so many boxes at the same time with all these kind of crazy overlays that happen over the course of the year. You know, again, we'll pass this PDF on to Eric. You know, if more comes up, more ideas, more questions, absolutely happy to you know, follow up with that. Otherwise, be on the lookout for the final package. I think there's going to be it's going to really tie everything together and you know, make some pretty pictures happen.
Yeah, no kidding. We just want this done yesterday. You got us all excited now.
I want to throw in just a small note. I know when this first came along and just even putting out the RFP for this, there were a lot of people that were like, oh, stop, Carbondale, don't do anything, just leave it alone, right? And I think this is so much better than anything I ever thought of. Thank you.
Thank you. It's great. Appreciate it.
Thanks for coming, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
What are you gonna cut from the agenda?
Eric, speed talking time here.
I tried to go fast. I'm sorry.
No, these are really important things.
Drinks on me at El Dorado if anybody wants to go.
Oh, afterwards. Oh, are you
Meeting is
going?
adjourned.
Are you gonna be there in about a half an hour? Yeah, Go save us a seat. You might see us over there afterwards.
I'll tell the crew.
All right.
So the next thing, you know, on the agenda is just our updated, you know, chapter 4 recommendations from our 2015 master plan. So I think, you know, why I just wanted to bring this back up, and it's updated to today's date of where we actually sit in all of those 12 goals that we had out of that 10-year-old master plan. And so just for us to make sure we know that we use that, especially for the new commission members, we had a great plan that we were able to use over the course of 10 years to set our priorities, to set our goals, set our budgeting items. And it, you know, it was a very well written plan, very well done, very comprehensive in the sense that we have used it up to today, that, you know, to 10 years later, still has a lot of pertinent information in it. But one thing also to look at, it is color coded. That's the way we utilized it. You know, so the people that have been here over those 10 years have had their eyes on it 1,000 times. but I definitely wanted to include it for some of the new members, just to realize where we've been and how far we've come and what we've accomplished in those 10 years. And the master plan actually shows that with the color coding of the master plan. It can really let you know what's been accomplished. There was really not a lot, that we didn't accomplish with that master plan. So that's something we all can be proud of. And we can look forward to our next master plan, which, won't really be funded, pursued until after the pool project. Just so everybody understands the timing there. The master plan takes a lot of staff time, hiring consultants, RFPs, so to do our second, our next master plan, right, it's gonna, need to have some timeframe that's gonna work for all of us too. So we'll look at like 2026 to actually put some budget money in, look at some granting funds to start probably in 2027, that next 10-year master plan. And that master plan will be parks, recreation trails, and cemeteries too. So it'll also expand our scope of what we do. So it'll be a large comprehensive document to really look at the future. We'll know a lot more where we are too, in 2000 end of 2006 too, and where some of these bigger projects that we have on our docket right now, where those sit too. So I just wanted to share that. We're still using it to set our priorities, but we are nearing the end of its use. So we understand that. So the next, I just wanted to offer that for a nice casual read for you of the 40 something pages. So we're obviously not going to go through it tonight.
It was really good on a rainy day.
So the next thing on the agenda is our 2025 budget goals for our Parks and Rec department. And so there's a memo that kind of leads the rest of the documents in there. And we're not going to have time to literally go through this point by point. So what we really wanted to put that out, this is all in draft form. It is very fluid right now. We have been working on our budgets. They've been changing. We haven't yet proposed those budgets to the finance department and the town manager when a lot more changes. But we're getting a little bit ahead of that with you guys because that's what's always been asked of us, to make sure you guys have a good early look at some of the goals and priorities, even though they might change. And also to take the time to look at it and say, did we miss anything? We get pretty myopic sometimes working on these things, and we might have some priorities of the commission that we've totally missed. So really that's what I'm asking the commission to do, is really take a look at the capital improvement plan, the 5-year capital improvement plan spreadsheet that's also included in there, and just some of those specific budget goals that we have per our departments. So it's broken out into like Parks and Rec administration. Then it gets into kind of parks department specific expenditures. It goes into the recreation department specific expenditures, rec center specific expenditures, aquatic center specific, and then programming specific. So that's how we break it up, and that mirrors how our budget is broken up also too. So that helps us just kind of look at each piece of our numbers in the overall picture and make sure our goals are being satisfied with the numbers that are being put into the budget. So I don't know if anybody has any questions, but that's just want to make sure we're not missing anything. And so I'm not sure how to proceed here because there's a lot of data, a lot of information. So just any comments on the draft goals of any of those kind of different headings?
Will we get a chance to vote on the park equipment for Colorado Mills? And when is that? Colorado Meadows.
Meadows.
not Mills.
Yeah, so those, let me pull up that.
Is that the spreadsheet?
Oh, is that down lower? I
It's
just
not
saw
till
it's number,
2027.
Oh, it says 24, 25.
27.
Yeah, so,
Doesn't
if you're looking at
Oh,
the,
2027, you're right, okay. Just kidding, so that won't be for a while.
yeah, so,
We
so
got
you can
bumped
see
that, but I
that,
thought it was
that,
this year, did we
that
bump it then?
spreadsheet's that 5-year kind of capital improvement plan. So it does slot some of those goals and larger capital improvement projects into different years in that 5-year timeframe.
I thought it was next and it was coming sooner, but did we bump it or has that always been 2027?
No, really the next priority as far as when we were looking at our 5-year capital improvement plan is a replacement of Gianetti bathroom. So yep,
Right.
that gets in front of, that's behind, you know, probably Chacos Park and the pool now, but it's ahead of the next playground replacements. Yep. So that's next in line as far as a large park capital improvement project.
So, you know, now that I think about it, unless I missed it, Nick didn't really talk about the estimated cost of implementing that plan. So is that, I mean, you must have worked with him, so that's the 1.12 million?
Yeah, and that's speculative at this point, since we're at
Right.
schematic design, you know, we
Right.
don't have really good hard numbers on that yet.
Mhm.
That'll come through the phases of the project. What I have in there is 120,000 in 2025
Yeah.
to get that schematic design to a construction document, you know, site plan. Yep,
Okay.
and so that's what's included in there. You know, we, you know, ballparking that project, you know, it could be as much as a $2 million project,
Mhm.
with everything included. So that would, you know, there are some granting sources that we are talking to look at that. The Land and Water Conservation Fund. It's a federal grant that's managed through the Colorado Parks and Wildlife. And we have talked to them about Chacos Park, and we fit what they fund. And their grants are federal and very complicated and take about 2 years to be awarded, and you can't break ground before they're awarded. So that's why we're talking to that style of grant. But as far as they have a 1-to-1 match on those grants, but much of it can be in kind. And so some of the offerings of, you know, some of the local businesses or sponsors could help with that. Yes, could help with that process. But the, you know, it would need to be, you know, have some grant support for that project for sure. But there are grants out there that look at, you know, parks like that, you know, that match their mission and criteria.
One thing I see on this repeatedly that I have concern about is the skylights roof repair at the rec center seems to be constantly pushed back. That seems like a pretty important.
Yeah, Margaret.
maintenance. Is that gonna get done?
Well, Margaret and I
this
had
year?
our meeting today and actually a budget meeting. And so we did talk about it, and it was actually misrepresented as far as the problem. The problem is actually our roof at the rec center. And so we've spent money this year on fixing portions of the roof that were leaking. And so it actually wasn't the skylights, it was actually the roof and the water traveling to the skylights to where they are to get to making it look like it was the skylights. And so we did spend some money this year. We do have money in the budget for next year to look at some more roof repairs. So it's more of a, you know, almost 20-year-old roof needing repairs.
Yeah, that doesn't seem like enough money, 30,000.
We're doing sections of the roof. So we've done the upper section that had the worst leaks. And so we have other money in the budget too, on the maintenance line item too, that we can utilize too for some of that work. So yeah, so that's misrepresented here. When I sent it, so it's changed even since this is out. It's all draft form. So it's changed since you have received this. So just so you know.
I see that security cameras in the parks, is that because of vandalism that's been going on but we've got it pushed all the way out to 2028?
Yeah, we realized that, you know, that's probably, the big brother is going to be watching you here at some point, in our park spaces, and our industry is going that way to try to stem off, the vandalism and misuse of our public spaces. So.
I mean, but if this is, I guess my main question is why are we going all the way out to 2028? Because it seems like it's a little more urgent considering they lit one on fire. We lost,
Three on fire.
Okay, so how much have we paid in repairing these the vandalism stuff compared to getting the security cameras in? Not that those are the answers to everything, but don't you think that's a little more urgent than 2028?
Yeah, with this, it's speculative, so you try to spread out the expenditures, so not everything's in 1 year. So but that's the feedback I'm looking for. That's exactly what we're doing right now is to get some feedback on, is this in the right spot? Is it, do people feel like it needs to be prioritized sooner? Or is it not a priority and needs to be pushed out further? So that's the value of these really. So I'm hearing that feedback. So.
Well, I don't know. I'm just questioning that. What needs to happen at Bonnie Fisher with the bread oven?
They wanted to create a power source there, for their bread. I think they actually want to create a power source to mill their own, to create their own flour there for their bread making process. So that was just a request and some lighting too, some solar lighting. So just some requests that they have had of that space.
Do they want to throw money in it? Pizza committee?
Questions on just the rec center.
Meeting is being recorded.
The rec center line item, well, not line items on page 49 and 58, the cost recovery and operations. And I'm wondering if the system master plan in a couple of years will cover more of a high level look at not more of a detailed look at the rec center as a facility and a facility plan for that. Is it still relevant? Providing relevant amenities is, meeting the demands? Is there other things we should be doing to increase use, all that kind of stuff? So I see that not as something that's urgent now. Maybe you see it otherwise, but something that should be probably noted that a deep conversation on that space should be coming up.
And do you see that as part of the next Parks and Rec master plan or separate?
Part of that. But it requires a little bit of different special, what's that called? Expertise to look at it holistically, but it's been around long enough that I think it's time to kind of dig into it and where can things be more efficient and not.
Yeah, definitely. I think we are coming out of that. We were rocking before COVID there. I mean, it was, we were, I think, actualizing its potential, before COVID and had maintained like a 65, 67% cost recovery there for many years, before COVID. So it was flowing, it was functioning super well. And, COVID threw us for a loop there. We're slowly coming back to those levels of use and, but where we're not coming back is probably our level of programming. And that is from a lot of other reasons. Definitely our other elements of our jobs have gotten very busy, besides just the rec center and the combination of the Parks and Recreation Department has created a larger kind of umbrella of influence of our whole department. And so that is one piece of so many things now. Yeah, versus a solitary focus. So I agree. I think we can take a good look at it. Cost recovery there does matter for our rec sale, the health of our rec sales and use tax fund. That funds our pool operations. That funds our rec center operations. That funds staff. And so the health of that rec sales and use tax is very important for the success of the future pool and also the success of the rec center offerings. So.
I've also noted that you guys have had long time ads out for more staff. Do you have applicants? They don't want to move here? That seems to me to be the bottleneck on more programming.
Yeah,
Can I add to that first too? Because, you know, housing or subsidies or staffing, those kind of things, is that something that we have, that we can weigh in on with, are we at market level for what we're paying, that kind of thing? Is that something that we can weigh in on, or benefit structure,
at
things
the-
like that?
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely answer at the administrative level of all of town at admin. You know, they're definitely looking at ways to retain staff and qualified staff and quality staff. So they've done, actually over the last 3 years, they did some salary surveys. They, you know, they realized that we were probably behind the curve. And so 3 years ago, they did a salary survey and brought everybody up, you know, raised the whole ship. And they just recently, because I have done another salary survey and have really reconfigured our entire compensation packages over the last couple of years, and even this coming year and this coming budget. You know, they've totally reconfigured how people fit into a range of salary. And they did that with, you know, by doing another salary survey. So, and all for the reason of retaining quality staff, you know, recruitment of quality staff. And so I think overall, the town is really, you know, having that be a priority for them, how to get people here, how to provide them a livable wage.
Town staff have like a higher range on preferability, I guess. I'm not sure what the verbiage is, but for the lottery for housing or anything like that, if they work for the town specifically?
No,
Or
the
if
town
there's a
does have,
housing-
you know, properties that are employee housing units. The town would love to, you know, expand that inventory, of course. And so that's what the trustees work on a lot. I mean, you can probably speak to that better than I can, but.
Yeah, we've just talked, so we have the, you know, town center project that is gonna be affordable housing. And so there's a whole section of it that we're going for the federal tax credits. And so that's anybody with 80% AMI. Town staff could apply if they qualify, if we pay them that level. But then there's the rest of the project, which I think it's estimated there could be 15 to 20 additional units there. And we did most recently have a conversation where we're gonna set a goal, and I think Town Manager Lauren is gonna reach out to staff to kind of get a feel for how many more town units would be helpful. And so we've even talked about, well, what if we made 10 of those town units for employees? That would mean we would have to put in the money to make it happen. So we've been looking at outside sources. Town, general fund, not Parks and Rec. And so it's not gonna happen like next year, but it's kind of in our whole plan for it. And we are hoping to go, we got rejected for the tax credit project, the first round, which happens to most projects. So we are hoping we're successful the next round. But even if we get awarded next year, yeah, we'd be looking at building them in 2026, moving people in 2027. So there's a ways out, but it's definitely on our radar of needing to provide that.
Okay, I want to let everybody know, which you probably already know, but we're coming up to the close of our time on the meeting, but are you guys good with extending it another?
It's our first day. of
Yeah,
school, too.
I can't extend it. I have a hard cutoff at 8:30, unfortunately.
Okay,
But is there a way that you can carry on without me?
yes,
Okay.
yes. Are you guys willing, well, you have to go to school too, right? Yeah. That's fine. I mean, I don't think we have any decisions
No,
to
this
make,
was more
right?
informational.
This is more
And
information.
as far as the budget, you know, thanks for that feedback. If you have more, just email me. I think, you know, that would be a great way to do it. We are deep in the budget process right now, so now's the time.
I just want to say
Um,
staffing is so important and being competitive, because it's just, that's how we've got to do it. Unfortunately, if we need to make cuts somewhere, finding that money for staffing is gonna be really important. So you two have the help you need. I think that's so important to get the right staff in. And second of all, I didn't see the bathrooms on the, you said it was coming
There,
last.
600K.
You saw it? Okay, just kidding. Just kidding.
Huh? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so we can wrap this, so.
No, I mean, is there anything else critical, Margaret, that you want to add on anything?
As far as budget or just
Just anything.
We have our town one table coming up on Sunday, so if you would like to join us, there is space at the head table. You bring
What's
it.
the?
Okay.
This must be outer space.
What do you got going on?
I also want to encourage everybody to really consider doing a pool party. Les Carey came to one that Carolyn Fisher and I did last week, and we raised $11,400
Oh my God.
Nice.
with a pretty handful of people. So, and more people that couldn't make it are still looking. So I mean, really, you guys, to do this on a little small basis, and I don't know, what did you think was most successful on that, Les? Just getting the
Of
right
the-
people?
Oh, it was great. It
But
was nice
Lauren
to-
came,
Lauren came and talked. It was
yeah.
lovely.
The party in the box works great.
Our total payments and pledges to date is $1,025,398.
We're over 1 million, finally. Yeah,
And we should find out, probably this week or the next week about the GoCo, community impact grant that we wrote a concept paper for. So the way GoCo works, you write a concept paper, they review your concept paper, they invite you to put in a full grant. So, and that's how they start to weed out the process. So we'll hear if we've been invited to put in a grant soon. So
That
I'll let you know.
Hollis is correct. It's the personal contacts and the pool parties that are making the biggest difference in the private donations.
so. Yep, reach out and touch someone. Anything else urgent that anybody wants to bring up? Okay. He's the downtowner.
Yeah, because it just parks outside my house all the time. It's not being used.
Okay, is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn. I second.
I second, or third, or whatever you said. It's time.
What? Oh my God, that's
look at us.
fast. Oh my gosh, okay.
I gotta go.
Hey, all in favor? Aye, let's finish the vote, please.